Okay, we're sneaking in a sound check out there. Last week we had problems, so just checking. If you can hear us, let us know, people. We're going live in 3 minutes. Give us some comments. Can you hear us?
What's up, friends and fans? We're here today doing our Live It Out live stream with John and Jennifer. Thanks for joining us today. It's great to see you. It's going to be a fun night. So this is a place where we unapologetically lift up the ways of Jesus, promote grace, strive to learn and live like Jesus Christ. We believe in a triune God who loves us and calls us to live it out, the good news, everywhere that we live, work, and play.
You were reading that. You were trying to read the teleprompter. Hey, by the way, Aaron Bennett, really fun to see you on here, brother. I know that he was pastoring here in Portland, is now back in Georgia. At least that's my understanding. Aaron, maybe give us a shout out as to where you are right now, because that was the last I remember as you were serving in Georgia. And Aaron planted a church in downtown Portland that is still active and going. And he and his family have moved back to serve in other areas. But great to see you on here, Aaron. Thanks for being a part. If you know other pastors that are hanging around, we're going to be interviewing tonight some fantastic people in regards to a retreat space for pastors and Christian leaders. And speaking of, this is our first show to have an interview.
I know. I'm so excited.
I know. I'm
so
excited and nervous.
I'm very
because
nervous.
it's like, I mean, it's a little crazy, but
obviously, like the way I brought us in shows that I'm a little
you're
nervous.
Trying to read. It's like, gosh, trying to live.
It's been a day.
Good news. Live, work, and play.
Been a day. So.
Well, hey, if you're joining us, welcome. We see Ben Clifton just popped on there. Hello from Oregon City. Yes, Ben. Thank you. Say hi to Joey if she's there. And we're pretty pumped about tonight. This is only our third episode, but it's gonna be a good time. Gonna be a great time, and we'll be introducing our guests here in just a few minutes. We're trying to look at our show notes. By the way, it has been a crazy and wild day.
Yes, you'll hear more about that in a little bit when we give you
It has been
Garrick
wild.
family
Are we missing
update.
anything on this, or can I just,
Well, we just want to thank you guys for your patience while we work out the kinks. As John said, we're going to have our first guest tonight. Fingers crossed that all this technology works like it should and that you hear us. Are you hearing us tonight? We've been working on the sound. Hopefully things are coming in a little bit more loud and clear than they were. And you don't have to have your volume
and we have
all the way
tested
turned
and
up.
tested.
We're working on it. So thanks for your patience with all that.
Yes. And we have even got our guests are hearing us and giving us thumbs up. Are you giving us a thumbs up in the green room that you guys are hearing us? Oh, yeah, we got thumbs up.
Okay, so far so good.
That is good. So they're hearing us clear from Atlanta, and that's fantastic.
Yay.
By the way, it's wild. This is our third episode, and, we're just starting out. But we have had people from... Uganda, Rwanda, New York, New Zealand, Japan. No, Korea. Korea, South Korea, Japan. Just to clarify. No one from North Korea is listening that I'm aware of, but that'd be cool. But yeah, South Korea, my gosh, all over. North Carolina, South Idaho. Well, it's just all over. It's just wild. And, it's just the modern convenience, I guess, you got here, being able to broadcast on YouTube and on Facebook. So if you are on YouTube, we would just ask you, please hit that subscribe button. It helps us. It bumps the algorithms and all those things that the little Facebook minions tell us to do. I don't really understand them all, but it would really help us if you subscribe. Plus, ring the little bell. That will give you alerts so you know when we're going live. And we do go live every Thursday, 6 to 7 for Live It Out. And we also... are doing on Facebook. So you may be getting this on our Facebook page. Jennifer and I think you have a broadcast on yours too, right? Mm-hmm. And so on mine, and then on the Eternal Impact Facebook page. But if you're getting it on one of those, you're already following us or already a friend. So thanks for being our friend, and thanks for hanging out with us. So each week we hope to continue to improve, to get the best quality, both technically as well as content. And speaking of content, we have really a great show planned for today. Today we are welcoming for our very first live stream guest, Roger and Penny Dorsey. We know you are going to love them as much as we do. We're going to have a lot of fun together. We've known them for several years and are excited to share about them personally, but also about the ministry in which they represent and they serve in. It's really going to be great. We'll introduce you to them in just a few minutes, but before diving into that, myself, let's see. What do I want to? Yeah, take a few minutes. There we go. I got to say, wait a minute. I'm supposed to be reading that. I'm going to take a few minutes and give a brief update on the Garricks and Eternal Impact. So we don't take very much time during these times to give, big updates, about the ministry, but and life. But those that have been following us and on the journey know that we're getting ready to make some major changes, some, forced homelessness and all sorts of fun stuff, and taking the live stream on the road. And it's 4th of July season coming up. So for the Garrick clan, we have Team G fireworks. Yay. And yay, it's a, we should have applause for that. Can we have,
yes.
Where's the applause? Yeah.
Fireworks.
We should have actually had some fireworks going on during there.
Oh,
we'll have to work on
good.
that one for next week.
Yeah.
So we are going to, we do this in an effort to raise funds, and the funds primarily go for Team G to go to New Zealand. So all those New Zealand listeners know that we're going to be doing this show live from New Zealand this December and January, because we're going to be going to visit our daughter and son-in-law, Leslie and Sully. We can't wait to see you.
About that.
Oh yeah, so exciting. COVID just shut that country down. And so we are excited. They're open, and we do these fireworks that a friend gave us so that we could, do that business as a side way to raise revenue for that. Oh yeah, the live stream. Oh, you know what? That little live stream thing's right in the center. Thanks for telling me, hon.
I just noticed.
Look at that. Oh
That's
my
better.
goodness, that's better. Wow. Did someone give a comment and tell us about that? Hey, speaking of comments, oh, that's so cool. We have someone listening from the lawnmower. I like that.
Hey.
Okay, Ben Clifton,
Getting
thank
the
you
lawn
so
done.
much. There. And by the way, Aaron, thank you that it is sounding good. I appreciate you letting us know. And Aaron is a super high tech guy, so it encourages me to know that he's hearing it well. And of course, we're getting cross shout out, so hopefully you're getting it. I think Aaron's on Facebook, but Ben's on YouTube, coming across YouTube, but he says a big shout out to Aaron as well. Hope things are good and well in Atlanta. And of course, our guests are already getting shout outs. Hello, Roger and Penny, miss chopping wood with you. Ooh, that was so fun. We took a team down to Kerith Springs that we'll introduce you to tonight, and did some wood cutting about a year ago, and they're probably burning through it right now. Ben says jealous about New Zealand. How many years has it been for you? It's been 3 years since
we've seen our daughter.
Yeah, 3 years this September. And so
3
it's
long
unbearable.
years.
So her and our son-in-law are going to get us for a month. So anyway, Team G Fireworks, that's why we're doing that. And then we're also going to be giving 20% of the funds are going to be going to 2 different ministries. They're going to be going to our pastors and leaders in Uganda, and they're also going to be going to Adventurous Apologetics, which we will be having Ben Clifton on later in the show. Not today, but later in the months ahead when he gets back, as he's on his way to Rwanda, I think, in just a couple weeks. And we'll be talking about Adventurous Apologetics and sharing a little bit about that ministry that Eternal Impact is launching. And we're excited for Ben and for what God is doing through him. So that's what Team G's doing, and that's why we take some time off from office work, or actually take the office with us. That's what we do. And we go down there and we work, and it's just a family affair. Our son, Sam, who's 20, is a part of it as well. And then we get to send the proceeds, some of them, off to some ministry stuff that we just love. So
if you're local, come and say hi to us in the tent.
Yeah, that is true.
Over at the grocery outlet in Oregon City, you can find us hanging out in the big old white tent.
Yeah, you can't
having
miss
a
us.
great time.
Yeah.
It's been really fun connecting with the community this way. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
as long as it doesn't pour down rain.
Yeah, well, we hope it doesn't. But wherever we are, we hope that we can touch lives and live out the gospel. So whether we're doing it at work, at home, or at a 4th of July fireworks stand, that's what we want to be, and be ambassadors of the gospel to the community. So,
hey, one other quick update we want to share with you before we move on is that this Sunday, if you're local too, we're going to be sharing at the Oregon City Christian Church at both the 9 a.m. service and the 10:45. We aren't giving the message for the morning, but we are. We've been asked to come and share a little bit about the
Father's
ministry.
Day and the ministry. And
Yeah,
so
we're
that's good.
looking forward to doing fellowship with those guys on Sunday morning.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Yeah, and there'll be an Eternal Impact little booth or whatever out there too, serve for hanging out, a little coffee, and so if you're in the area, not only enjoy.
Come say hi to us.
Yeah, well, great worship time with them, and hear more about the ministry. So that's great. All right, anything you want to say about retreats, hon? Just anything, or you want to just focus on?
We're going to talk a lot about retreats tonight, so we'll dive into that.
Yeah, we got a lot going, and so
I want to get to Roger and Penny.
I know, I do too. So that's good. Well, at this time of the show, we want to always thank our sponsors. Our sponsors for these first dozen shows or so are going to be Eternal Impact. So we want to say thank you, Eternal Impact. Thank you, champions. Thanks for all you do to support year round. You support this show, but you also support all the other things that we do throughout the year and the retreats that are coming up. Jennifer and I are founders of Eternal Impact, but we are also missionaries with that organization, and very grateful for all the partners Just as we move on to a couple of things, I want to just say we have another joining us live from Uganda. I just want to say thank you, Ian. That's cool. That's joining us from Uganda. That's fantastic. We see others that are there. And you're right, Joey. It is a reunion. After 3 years, we are pretty pumped to see the kids. And so you nailed that reunion for sure. Well, we do a little spot in our show called Flashback. So before we get into our interview time, we want to flash back to the previous week's show. And this week's flashback was on the Sabbath last week. And there was something that came up. And so either Jennifer and I like to just highlight something in that flashback. And that's this. Many people, not just on the comments, but actually in person or reached out to us independently about this idea of when is the Sabbath, the day of the Sabbath. Yeah. Now, not the argument of Shabbat, the Jewish holiday, or the Saturday versus Sunday. It's not that. We could get into the history of that later, and we did a little bit last week. But it's really was this question is like, well, does it matter what day, that we have Sabbath? Maybe people have work schedules, that are different. Yeah, absolutely.
Sunday off.
And I get that. We're not legalistic about it. But here's what we were thinking about and how we answered that question. That really, although it's not as important of the day, it is important for us to have a rhythm of Sabbath. So in other words, especially for pastors and leaders, we get so busy and it's like Sunday's not a Sabbath, and it is so difficult to be able to just, take a Sunday. So we say, okay, we'll take another day off. Well, what happens is we'll say, oh, well, this week I'll take Tuesday. Next week I'll take Thursday. The following week, then I'll go back to Monday. Those really aren't Sabbath rhythms, because really God's calling us to a 24/6 rhythm, right? So whether that is Monday, whether it's Thursday, whether it's Sunday, it should be in your life a rhythm of Sabbath, so that you've got that pace of being able to rest after 6 days of work and be rested for the next 6 days.
So now, it's not 10 on, 1 off, 7 on, 1 off.
Exactly. And so I just want to encourage that, because we get that a lot. We as we're coaching and encouraging other leaders, there's that thing of, well, my Sabbath kind of floats. It's kind of the floating Sabbath. I would really discourage that, to be honest with you. I'd really discourage the floating Sabbath because it really gets you out of rhythm. And I do believe that we see clearly in Scripture, as well as practice throughout the traditions, that the seventh day, giving yourself that rest, is important. And by the way, there are companies that have done this. B&H is owned by Hasidic Jews, and they have, B&H Photography, by the way, is the largest privately owned audio-video store. It's based out of New York, and they close every Shabbat. So every Saturday from sundown on Friday to sundown on Saturday, they're closed. And if you make orders online, they get fulfilled for them on Sunday. They start, their workers start on Sunday. And that's been for years. Chick-fil-A, one of my favorite, well, probably my favorite fast food place, because I'm not really into fast food, but I mean, it's closed, and it's not closed at a different time. It's closed with a rhythm, because it's important to know that rhythm and to have that rhythm. So that's all I want to do on Flashback, is just kind of talk about that. It came up from a lot of people about the idea of the floating Sabbath, or, well, I'm taking a different off. I really want to encourage you, don't do the floater. Do the best you can. And we're going to talk more about Sabbath. We're going to have some other guests on over this year, because it's such a critical, important thing, and it's very difficult for us to do in our culture. It is counter culture, just so you know. And honestly, it's counter church culture. A lot of times it's counter church culture to actually do a Sabbath. And we will talk about that again at another time. But that's our flashback for this week. So just a really quick breakdown. And this is kind of the little breakdown before we go into our guests. Now, a lot of times we do table talk. Last week, I'll do a breakdown and I'll dig into a little bit of the word or a topic. And then we do table talk. We do questions and answer. This week, we're going to go right to the interview. But I want to just give a little breakdown just for us to get an understanding of why it's so important for us as leaders, as pastors, as shepherds, as, heads of Young Life or Fellowship of Christian Athletes or, other ministry venues. There's many. And this is not just full-time. You could be co-vocational. You could be, part-time. It doesn't matter. That's not really the issue. The issue is that all of us need a chance to pull back from the chaos, the challenge, the front lines. Leaders are at the front lines. They're at the tip of the spear. And it is important for us to be able to have an awareness of our need to pull back from all that and give ourselves margin to be able to meditate, to be able to rest, to be able to have some isolation, to be able to seek the Lord, to be able to hear him in a fresh way, to be able to restore to our first love and our call. And there's so much that God is calling us to. So we came off of talking about Sabbath last week, but really I want us just as a highlight, and I'm going to give you a reference. I just want you to think about going to Barna Research. It just came out. Matter of fact, I just got an article that was published, I believe, today. I think June 5th is my email. Maybe it was yesterday. But I want you to be checking out. You can Google it yourself. We'll put it in the show notes. You do have to pay for all of the details if you want the entire breakdown of the pastor survey. But they've just launched a new product called the Resilient Pastor. They've also done a ton of research over the last several years that they're passing on for you to be able to read, talking about weekly faith practices of pastors, talking about, the challenges that in ministry, whether they've considered quitting or not. There's just a lot of statistics that are out there. I will not take the time to go into all of those now, but I do want to encourage you. Barna is a great organization, but recently it just came out, this report, and I did purchase the entire report just because I want to be able to dig into it over the months ahead. But I just want to encourage you and throw that resource out to you to be thinking about. Okay, so check out Barna and the importance for us to love and care for pastors. Well, we are at a new time where we're going to talk on this show of rest from the front lines. And I want to encourage our listeners and viewers, I want to encourage you that if you have a question, okay, if you have a question, put the Q: in front of it, Q:, because when it comes through, whatever platform you're on, whether it's YouTube or Facebook, it will, and I guess we're broadcasting on Twitter too. We don't have a lot of folks, listen on Twitter, but it's there too. And if you send a comment, we will see it. We can search it just by a Q:, and we can do that. And so we can see what that question comes up. And during the time when we're interviewing Roger and Penny, who we're going to introduce to you in just a moment, we just want you to know you can throw questions out there and we can ask them as well. So I just want to encourage you, if you have a question specifically, just put Q:, and then your question. All right. And that would be fabulous. Hey, let's introduce these guys.
All right. Finally. Yay. Mm-hmm. We want to welcome Roger and Penny to our show tonight. Very first guests. We're so excited. Roger and Penny are currently serving as retreat hosts at Kerith Springs Lodge in Sisters, which is located in Central Oregon. Happens to be one of my very favorite places in the whole world. I just love it over there. This space, Kerith Springs, is designed to give rest to pastors and Christian leaders. Roger and Penny, they see themselves as servants to the servants. The vision of the ministry was stirred in Roger's heart over 20 years ago, and through many divine encounters over several years, they've teamed up with Eric and Jerry Weber, and they've developed what is now called Kerith Springs. So over the last 6 years, Roger and Penny have enjoyed volunteering as hosts at Kerith Springs, and they plan to do so for as long as God allows them, and we're hoping that's a long, long time. Mm-hmm. So when they're not hosting, they love to spend time with their 2 adult boys, their 5 grandkids, and 1 great-grandchild.
Whoa! Oh, unbelievable. Roger and Penny, welcome.
Welcome.
You are our very first guest, and I think that I've got you unmuted. Can we hear them?
Can we hear you?
Can you hear us?
Oh, we hear you
Yay.
so beautifully.
There you are.
I cannot believe
There.
looking at you two right now and knowing you that you have a great grandchild. I mean, I know you do,
You're
but it
way
just
too young for
yeah,
that.
you're too young for that. Too young for that. But hey, real privilege to have you guys with us, and thanks for
Especially
being our
now,
first guest.
They're
Well, this
currently
is a
hosting.
dream come true for us, because for the last 50 years, I have looked forward to the day that I would be able to be interviewed on the 700 Club. And
No,
this isn't the 700 Club.
no, it's not.
700
Oh my
Club?
gosh, is that
Shoot, I sent out a
is that what you had to tell them,
message.
honey, to get them to come? You said
Hey,
this was a
whatever
700
it
Club?
takes to
All
get
my
a guest
buddies
on
are
our
tuning
show.
into the
gosh.
700 Club
They'll be
tonight.
fine. That's all right. They're going to be looking at that thing. Pat Robertson doesn't look near as old.
You just got a new gig, and here I was going to congratulate you.
Oh man.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Well,
I'm sure
I'm sorry
it's
to disappoint you
come down
guys,
the
but
road.
listen, we're going to have fun anyway, even though it's not the 700 Club. But we'll see. Maybe that's coming up though. Maybe that's coming up. We'll check that out. Well, listen, we've got some questions we just want to walk through with you guys. You are a wealth of information. We just want you to know that we appreciate all that you guys have done in order to serve leaders. We have been the recipients of that so many times, and we are just grateful and excited to see what the Lord wants to share through you guys tonight. So let me, I got to move this thing over. So, oh yeah. Okay, there we go.
No, I was just saying that.
Oh, you were saying what? You were saying how
Nothing. Just
good
keep
they
going.
You were saying, hey, we switch back and forth when they're talking, but then we also we like them on there because I like them
too.
Yeah, it's good. All right. Well, listen, it's been quite a few years now, so you've been serving in this capacity. I want you to tell us what led you to get involved in leader care of this nature. I mean, this is not normal, right? So tell us about that.
Well, I became a financial planner back in the 80s and started specializing in working with pastors and missionaries. And through that, got an opportunity to see how much stress these folks go through. And it's really pretty amazing that they can even hang in there, an awful lot of them, with all of what they're required to do, and the fact that that their careers are a 24/7 situation where it's just, one day after another of go, and trying to handle some real difficult situations. And through all that, I started to lose some of my pastors that just couldn't hang in there any longer.
You saw a lot of burnout.
I saw a lot of burnout. And there were a lot of cases where I felt so badly, because I really felt like they had the call of the Lord on their careers, but weren't able to endure through all of that, and just wanted to see if there'd be someplace down the road where we could serve some of these folks and give them some Sabbath time, and that's kind of where it started in my heart.
Wow. And that was, you said in the 80s. So that was
Been a while.
Yeah, that was when you've been for 40 years plus. You have had the privilege of serving alongside some of these leaders, but you've been able to see them from, you've seen all their finances. You've seen what they, I mean, really, that's an
Or
intimate,
the lack thereof,
or the
I
lack
should say.
thereof. Yeah, that's right. But that is an intimate posture and opportunity to be able to really see and hear on a very vulnerable, I guess that's the word I'm really looking for, just a very vulnerable opportunity. And so you have a vantage point that not a lot of people do. And I just think that's so exciting that you heard that, you listened to their needs, and you responded. When did God start stirring in you of this idea of a retreat space?
That would have occurred in the early 90s.
Okay.
I would say around 93 or 94. And it just kind of grew from there. It never went away. I always felt like that might be the calling for me, especially later in life when, my career wound down, that I'm going to have the free time to do that. And it's just been a God thing, how it's so many things have happened that kept pointing me to, we need to get this done. There's just not enough opportunities for pastors to get away. and the need never goes away. Trying to get them to recognize that they have the need is not always easy.
Yeah, we're going to get to that.
We're going to talk about that.
Yeah, for sure.
So one of the things that kind of spurred you forward, I know, is connecting with the Webbers. Tell us a little bit about that, and tell us a little bit about Kerith Spring, how it got its name and the vision behind that.
Well, I'll share a little bit about, I had been sharing with Raj for a long time because we had attended a large church in Boring. And I told him to talk to our pastor, and he just said, he's really busy. It was a really big church, and he had a lot of responsibilities. And I said, yeah, but he might be able to give you some insight. But he just kind of dismissed that. But he made a list, Raj made a list of 7 churches in the Sisters area because we felt compelled that this was where we were supposed to be, because those of you who are still in the valley know that the one thing that we all love is sunshine, warm, sunny days and blue skies and cool nights.
Amen.
Especially right now with all the rain you guys have had. Yeah.
Yes.
And so he felt compelled to go to Sisters. And the first church he stopped at. You want to share that part of it, or you want me to share that?
You can go ahead. I know you want to tell this story.
I love this story.
All right.
So the pastor, he shared his heart and what he wanted to do. And he said, you should talk to one of our elders. In fact, you might know his brother. He pastors a big church in Boring, Oregon, and his name is Stu Weber. And anyway, I just, and then Roger said, well, yeah, I guess I do know who that is. That's my pastor. And my wife's been telling me that I should talk to him. Anyways, that's how Roger and Eric connected, is through this pastor telling us about Eric.
And I think that was the only time in our marriage that I didn't listen to my wife. So,
yeah. And how many listeners and viewers out there believe that? So they've been married. How long have you guys been married?
How many?
Almost 47 years.
47 years. I'd like to know if there's any viewer or listener out there that believes that any male Homo sapien has only not listened to their wife one time. Just comment if you can. And if that's the case, Roger could be going up for sainthood. I'm sending something to Rome right now.
The award for
that
tonight.
Anyway, but just so you know, just to be totally transparent, it's been at least 15 minutes since I didn't listen to my wife. So I just want you to know, just being transparent. Is that true?
Oh my goodness.
All right. Well, that's a cool story. Thank you for that. Very fun. So from that point, God began to start, I have to go into all the details and everything, because I know it's a long journey, because that was many years ago. And so, man, now Kerith Springs, tell us about it. Tell what God, because we've been there. I mean, we could talk all day. Yeah, we're just so excited for what God's doing through you guys. But share a little bit about that. Share about what Kerith Springs is, and tell us, how people can connect it.
Okay.
Well, Kerith Springs is here to serve, and this is our sole purpose. It's to serve rest to pastors and missionaries at no charge to them, so they can come and spend 5 days and 4 nights with us from Monday through Friday. So it's not a part of their vacation package at church. We want to make that clear to the churches that this is a time that we need to serve them, and they come here under a lot of duress from time to time, and this needs to just be a regular part of what they do as often as they can do it. So we try to get these pastors here at least once a year. And when they come for the retreats that we try to have them have on these retreats, we want them to relax and rest. We want them to refresh and reflect. We want them to renew and restore. We want them to recharge and rebuild. We want them to rejuvenate.
So all
we want
those
them to
are
do pretty much. Yeah, we pretty much want them to do anything that starts with RE. And
That's right.
That's what we just keep coming back to.
Rejuvenate.
Although there is one exception, we do not want them to reproduce, because most of these pastors come here with 7 or 8 kids back home, and they're homeschooling them, and then they can't figure out why is it that we're so tired,
Okay, you heard it here first. there are some limitations
Yes.
to the Kerith Springs, but this is a family show. Okay, so we don't want to get any more details. So we'll just have to say, Penny, you're going to have to control him on any of the other the RE words, but it's good. So no, very fun. So talk to us a little bit about, because you had mentioned it's not part of their vacation package.
Right.
I think that is critical.
It is.
Let me just, I'm going to mention this and then I want to ask you, because I hear it all the time from either leadership of churches or from pastors. It's like, well, this is just an extended vacation where they're, going to get away, but we're really not talking about, we expect everyone to be taking vacations. I hope that you're getting your vacation packages and doing things with your family and camping and making memories and all those things. But what we're talking about here, and what Jennifer and I, our heart and the heart of Eternal Impact, is that pastors would be able to have a space and a time in their life very similar to what you're talking about at Kerith Springs, where they would get to rest and they would get refreshed and get restored to their call. So I really appreciate the RE words. I really do. And but talk to us about that. Why is that so important? And have you seen that a hurdle that you've had to get over?
Go ahead.
Well, I'll give you an example of a guest we have with us right now. And she shared that this was the most tired she's ever been. And then yesterday, she said that we had a lovely day yesterday. It was just beautiful, perfect weather. And they were sitting outside and she was just relaxing. And then she thought, I think I'm just going to go lay down. And she slept for 3 hours. And sometimes, if we don't get into that rhythm that you were talking about earlier, John, I think what happens is that we just kind of hit a wall and our body just kind of cries out. And so if you don't learn to have that rhythm and you don't learn to have soul rest, your body will force you to. And anyway, she took a 3-hour nap yesterday and she just felt rejuvenated. And for some of our guests, it isn't a long nap. It's just resting and staying, experiencing the amenities that we have here. Sometimes for some of our guests, it's getting out and enjoying the river or taking a hike or going bike riding or whatever it is that they choose to do. We try to accommodate that and help them relax in any way that they can. But that rhythm and that soul care is very important for the survival, for I wouldn't say the survival, I would say the thriving, what God wants us to do. He wants us to thrive. He doesn't want us to survive. And we have found that the guests, that the pastors that come and their spouses, that they really are rejuvenated. One of the things that we do is that we treat it like a bed and breakfast. They don't have to prepare their breakfast. And we're close to sisters and we're close to Bend. And so they can do lunch and dinner on their own. But we want to lift that burden of thinking about food. And so Roger has become a gourmet chef, which is really nice.
We can attest to some of that.
We've enjoyed his cooking.
He's very good. And
three dishes. I can do 3 dishes.
He does a lot.
But I just try to do them well,
And so I'm delighted about that. And I'm kind of a sous chef and help and do a lot of things. But he takes the lead on that and does a lot of the grocery shopping and makes the lists. And it's very, very nice that he takes that lead. And I'm more of the person that does the the tidying up and those sort of things. But anyway, it's just, we have seen so many lives changed, again, getting back to the RE words, rejuvenated, restored, revived. And I have, if you have a minute, I'll share a little.
Yeah,
we have a guest.
Definitely.
Yeah, please do. Please share that. And then I'm going to ask you a couple other questions about what it looks like on the Kerith Springs experience. So yeah, share that with us. Share a little anecdote.
Well, one of our guests says, seeing mountains is good for the soul. And we have a view of the 3 sisters here at the log home, and it's beautiful. And he says, we've been blessed and inspired by your incredible ministry to us over these special days. Thank you so much. And that we hosted them. It says, Roger and Penny, for your hospitality to us. Your vision for ministry to pastors and their spouses inspires us deeply. Your perseverance amid the many ups and downs in the development of Kerith Springs is a model for everyone. Thank you for inviting us and hosting us. So that's just a little sample. I have a whole book here of testimonies of lives that were really restored, and it has made a difference.
Yeah, that's so good.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and the view, the service, the hosting, it is a gift. It's beautiful. We've been on the receiving end of that.
Yeah.
And for the first time this year, we're actually going to be on the serving side of that. We're very excited to be able to, be hosting.
We're excited for you to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a transition for us in our ministry. And so spending a lot of time of our now pastoring pastors and pastoring leaders. And so this is a great opportunity for us just to come and what we call, love, listen, and serve. And so it's important for, we've been to a lot of ministry hosting places. As many know, we took a sabbatical this last year, and we, visited a ton of retreat spaces. Kerith Springs is still near and dear to our heart, is one of our favorite spots. But it's important for all of us to kind of stay in our lane. To really, because there's such a need out there, and the needs are diverse. I mean, just thinking of Roger and experience of all the different people that he's connected with. And, and I know, Penny, you too have been in ministry. You've even been a support, raising your support as a missionary and doing your own work in some domestic missions work and with young people, and, worked in many ministry posts. And so you guys know, you know the ins and outs and the difference and the unique position and posture that people have in their life. And so I'd like us to talk about just what is the lane of Kerith Springs, because you know it well, we know it well, but share with us what that looks like for someone, because we would see it focused mainly on respite and rest. But talk a little bit about that. Share a little bit about what that lane is for Kerith Springs, so that the listener, even if they're not a pastor or leader, they're saying, oh, you know what? My uncle, he needs that. Or my pastor does, or my young life leader, man, they really need that. So talk a little bit about that, the experience that someone has when they come to Kerith Springs.
Well, one of the the scriptures that actually one of our board members came up with, it was actually Stu Weber, came up with the idea of Kerith Springs, the name of it. And that comes from a story in the Old Testament. And it's in 1 Kings, the 17th chapter, when Ahab was pursuing Elijah, and he was exhausted. He was so tired. And God said to him, and I'm going to read the scripture, if you don't mind.
Love it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Then the Lord said to Elijah, Go to the east and hide by Kerith Brook, near where it enters the Jordan River. Drink from the brook and eat what the ravens bring you, for I have commanded them to bring you food. So Elijah did as the Lord told him, and camped beside the Kerith Brook east of the Jordan. And so that's kind of our focal point. That it's based, that's where Kerith Springs comes from, that name and that thought of rest. And it does, again, I really agree with what you were saying earlier, John, about being intentional. And it doesn't matter whether you're a pastor or you're a layman. We have to get into that rhythm of soul care and take that quiet time. We live in a very hard, very brutal world right now, and we have got to do soul care. We have to, if that's taking a walk, but doing it on a regular basis is very important. And we try to, this is just a taste of giving an example of what that is like for someone on the front lines, like you were talking about. So that's kind of the focal point of what we do and why we do what we do.
And again, I feel like to stress the point that it's different from vacation, because vacation usually is taking the kids and being very active, doing something fun. You're on the go. This is different. This is just a single or a husband-wife team that are getting away with the purpose of removing themselves from all the busyness and quieting enough to hear the voice of God, to get the rest that they need and be rejuvenated, right?
Yeah. So in that, let me ask this: what's the interaction when a pastor or leader couple, usually couples, but not always, could be
Not
single,
always,
but usually couples, when they come, what do they experience, and what is the time frame from the time they come to the time they leave on average? And then talk just a little bit about what they experience. And I got a couple other questions before we wrap.
Well, we just recently started hosting 2 couples. We used to just host 1 couple, but we've remodeled the log home, and now we're able to accommodate 2 couples, excuse me. And it's been wonderful to see the interaction that happens. You're a little, it's a little awkward in the very beginning because they don't know each other, but it just takes a few hours, and it's pretty amazing to watch the dynamics.
They realize they're comrades, that they go through a lot of the same things, and that's really wonderful for them.
And one of the things that we've experienced too is sometimes pastors and their spouses will just need to talk, and it's a matter of just listening because I think they feel safe. I'll tell you another thing that came up this week with one of our guests, and she said, "I'm just trying to get over that someone cares about pastors."
Wow.
Now that she said that someone really, because she knows we're volunteers.
Yeah.
She knows we do this because we love the shepherds, and she's overwhelmed by the love that comes from what we do.
That's great.
So,
wow.
yeah, and so that was, I think it has blessed her beyond belief. And another guest that we recently had said that he loved coming here because I think he said the word Denver when he, I shouldn't have said his name.
Sorry.
But anyway, he said it was transactional,
transformational, not transactional.
Yes. Transformation. Not,
he stole that from me. Whoever he is, he stole it from me. I'm sure of it.
Well, it was really because he said they gave and they wanted nothing. And he said, he was basically saying he has never experienced that. And I was stunned. I just couldn't believe that. And so that was a blessing to hear that.
Yeah, that's good.
Wow, that's
Thank you, Penny. That's good.
That's what it's all about.
And it is important because so much of our relationships in life, like it or not, they're transactional. And they're transactional relationships, but we're hoping when we come into the gospel and when we're interacting and serving others that they're transformational. It transforms us. It's just like people would ask me if you come and be a motivational speaker, for a thing. It's like, no, I won't, but I'll be a transformational speaker because motivation stops at the door. When you leave, it's like something else may happen. You might not be motivated, but it's the transformation of our lives. And we talk about soul care, right? So we're talking about the fact that we are souls with a shell. And a lot of times we live our life like we're the shell that's got a soul every once in a while. And so the reality is that God has called us to care for our soul. Now, we're going to talk about this more. We only have a few minutes to wrap up our show today, but
it goes so fast.
It goes so fast. But here's the deal. This is important. The things that are being hit on right now are really critical. And so if there are questions that come up, I don't see any right now with the Q:, if they are specifically for Roger or Penny, that's fine if there's not. But if you've got a specific question about Kerith Springs or that, we're going to put up the website in a minute and remind you how you can get a hold of them or the ministry of Kerith Springs. We are hoping that Kerith Springs is booked for years ahead because we know that means there's leaders that are getting cared for and opportunities. And as everyone knows, Penny and Roger know, we not only will be over the next couple of years, working with other ministries as we're prototyping and as we're learning and growing in hosting, but we hope to have another Kerith Springs or others that will continue to add to the availability because there's such a need. There's just such a need out there. So I hope you're hearing that today. I hope as you're listening to this, you're recognizing, man, there is need for soul care, and our pastors can get overlooked, and they do need a space. And I use the word pastor, so I want to be careful because pastors sometimes can be cultural, pastors. Right? It's a cultural term, pastor of music, pastor, senior pastor, pastor this, but really we use Christian leaders and servants because they could be, part-time brick mason and also preaching and leading a church, and they're co-vocational. They could be working as a young life leader. They could be a missionary, on the field. So there's a lot of, as Roger even talked at the beginning, of all the different people he's helped over the years in their financial planning. Those are from a various background, not necessarily a quote pastor of a church, senior pastor or whatever. It's just, we know that out of great churches and out of great organizations come new or come from great leaders. And so if the soul of the church and the soul of the organization is going to be strong, then the leadership has to be strong.
Right.
So let me just ask a question about this, and then a couple other questions are coming up. Even though there's some people that are asking questions without the cue, they're totally breaking the rules, but we are going to let them go by. We're gonna make it work either way. I see you. So, but here's my question for you guys. One of the things that we see as an obstacle with leaders is overcoming, you kind of mentioned it earlier, Roger, the need, almost convincing them they need, the space.
Surprising to think you have to convince them a little.
Yeah, but you know what? Pastors, and so I'll speak for myself and a guy that hangs out and works with a lot of them, we got egos. We got egos, and we got, sometimes we try and live our life like it's an Instagram post, you know what I mean? And there's that sense of, we set ourselves up on a pedestal and we believe, lies and are true. And we don't realize how deeply in need we are, not just in need of God's grace, but of God's plan and of God's rest and of God's leadership through other people into our lives. So what are some of the obstacles? I mean, is it finances? Is it lack of time, understanding, lack of support from the church? What do you see as the culprits kind of robbing leaders of their much needed rest? Either of you just kind of speak about that for a minute.
I would say it can be any and all of those. Probably nothing stands out to me more than the workaholic syndrome, where they really feel like they just can't justify getting away, trying to take care of themselves when there's so many people in their body that need care. And that can become self-destructive after a while. There are very, very few that can live that lifestyle consistently without some rejuvenation, without suffering, in the long haul. So I would think that that's probably the first thing. If we were going back 25 or 30 years ago, I would say that probably a lot of it had to do with finances, and just not enough opportunity given to them from the church. But churches have gotten better about that overall. I know that we're generalizing here when we say that, because there are still exceptions to this rule, sometimes just through lack of awareness in the leadership in the church, but often other times because of lack of finances. When you've got some of the, especially in small communities, the small towns, where you've got the bivocational pastor who can't find enough support for his family with what's offered at the church. So they've got to do another job, whether that's, a little store or selling insurance or but their love is to be a pastor. And so in those cases, they have trouble finding the time to get away, even if they want to get away badly. And a lot of times it's a financial thing. So we try to alleviate the problem with the finances by making sure that they understand that they're not going to be charged to come here. That's something that we'll take care of for them.
Yeah. So Roger, on that note, we know that this kind of ministry doesn't happen for free. You offer it free for the pastors, but tell us a little bit of how this is being funded.
Well, so far it's been funded by the leadership of Kerith Springs Lodge for the most part. We have had a couple of other partners that have stepped in and helped us, including one, and I'll just try to tell this story quickly, that the property that we're sitting on right now, which is a multi-million-dollar ranch, which we own. The reason that we own it is because a lady who, before she passed away, left a small amount. Well, it really wasn't a small amount of money, but left us almost $250,000, about a third of her estate. And this was a stay-at-home mom whose husband was a mechanic. And when he passed away, he had never even made $30,000 in a year. And yet they live by godly principles and were able to save when they heard, or when she heard, her husband was gone, when she heard about the vision, she left a portion of her estate for this. And we were able to parlay that. And we actually bought this multi-million-dollar ranch with just her gift alone and had money left over.
Wow. And it's
Again,
beautiful
this
too.
couple that never made any money to speak of. And you would have thought that they would have died penniless, but they didn't. And it's kind of a loathsome vicious story. And so that was a major part of our funding, as it turned out. And God used it in a mighty way.
Oh, that's exciting.
That's
well,
amazing.
as we wrap up our time, that's a great spot to end on. Just to remember of God's faithfulness and how he uses each of us. And even if it's someone we leave it in an estate, that it continues to make an impact for longer and longer. What a privilege that we get to be today recipients and servants alongside such a great ministry, and come alongside this lady's legacy and her family in order to see this come into fruition. So you need to take an opportunity to find out more about Kerith Springs. There's the website, kerithspringslodge.org, kerithspringslodge.org. We'll put it in the show notes. You really do need to reach out to them. And here's some things you could do. Number one, if you're a pastor leader, or you're a friend, or a relative, or you're a part of the leadership team, and you know your leader needs some time to get away for soul care, reach out to Kerith Springs. Send a message. It's a great interface. You can look on the calendar on there, see when openings are. They have been so gracious. They're expanding. They're doing everything they can to expand as the Lord leads. But there's also 2 rooms. Now, the rumor was that because they knew we were going to be hosting coming up, that they actually needed to have another room. They said, we need to make this harder on the Garricks. They need to have 2 people. There's this one couple thing's just too easy. We're gonna really show them. So that's kind of the rumor that we've heard is why they expanded to 2 rooms. But we received that, and that's exciting. That now 2 couples each week. Think about that, doubled capacity, and the capacity will continue to grow. A question did come up from someone. Wanting to know, let's see, who was it? Joey was wanting to ask if the new lodge was finished, and no, it is not. But things are in motion as the Lord leads, and the first step is just to have the expanded room that's there, and then as the Lord grows that, He will. We also just want you guys to know there's others. There's Kelsey from Montana. She says, "Amen to that. Our pastors need to be ministered to and cared for by the church." So true, and so and we got another amen from Addie across the river in West Lynn. And thanks, Addie. Glad you're with us tonight. And for sure, this is a huge need. This is just a huge need. So we only have a couple minutes left tonight that we need to wrap. But I just want to say a special thank you to Roger and Penny. Thank you so much.
It's been great having you
oh
guys
man,
on
we
here.
just loved it.
Thank you. What an honor it was to be your guinea pigs.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, no, you are way bright. I'm just sorry that we had to tell you it was a Center 700 Club in order to get you in. But either way,
we'll make it up to you.
Yeah, Roger will forgive us.
We'll take you out to lunch.
Yeah. Well, listen, blessings to you guys. Thanks again for being here tonight. You can stay with us in the green room if you want as we wrap up, or you can log off. Either way, this is our very first interview with Roger and Penny Dorsey from Kerith Springs. So excited.
Beautiful people.
Yeah.
Beautiful
love you guys.
time.
And we will be in touch with you offline soon.
Okay.
We'll
All
stay
right.
on.
Bye-bye. Bless you guys. All right. Well, hey, we're coming to the point of just
We're
wrapping
winding
up.
down
Yeah, winding
quick.
down the show, coming quick. But I want to remind you, we've got some other great guests coming up. So be ready. Even next week, we've got, is Sam Gray next week?
Yeah, next
Wow.
week, Sam Gray is
Yeah,
going to join us.
Living out the gospel as a millennial in the marketplace. And I'm super excited.
You're going to like him.
Yeah,
He's fun.
he is
He's
great.
a great guy.
So yeah, tune in next week for Sam Gray on that. And then just want to remind you, we were going to do prize tonight, but hey, we had more time, more fun doing the interviews. So we'll do it later.
Yeah.
We'll do it next week. We've got more books and more stuff to give away. So we'll see you next week for that. I want to just remind you that there's a weekly challenge, and this is it with a few seconds left. How does your local church encourage you to experience a Sabbath other than attending a worship service or volunteering at a church. Okay, now we're going to put that in the show notes, but we'd love to hear from you so that we can give a little shout out in next week's or the week after. It's really interested. We'd like to know, how does your local church encourage you to experience a Sabbath other than by attending a worship service or volunteering at church? Okay? We're going to dig into that a little bit. We're going to find out if there are some things we can do to improve the Sabbath rhythm in our lives. And that's going to be great. All right. Well, it is 7 o'clock, a few seconds here until we wrap things up. So, we always do a dad joke at the end, and it's really,
we're going to still do our dad.
Do you want to do
Maybe
one?
Just do one.
You do one? Okay. What one you got for us, sweetheart?
All right. Well, so what do you call a fake noodle?
I don't know what.
An impasta.
Oh, okay. I hate to have to end the show with that one. Okay, well, I guess you better send in. Some better dad jokes.
You don't like my jokes? You better send me.
I've got a good one for next week, but next week we'll bring it on. All right. Hey, we love you guys very much, and we hope that you have an amazing night. And we will see you next week on the Live It Out live stream.
Have a good week.
All right. See you guys then.